forecast. I'm 6 News First Alert meteorologist David Keller.
Schrock Innovations presents the Midwest #1 independent computer repair company with service centers in Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, Des Moines, and across the country via the Schrock desk. This is Compute This.
Good morning, folks, and welcome into Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. We've got 4 locations, just like the big voice man said there, where you can get help with your computers, your technology. You can get new computers. You can get your computers fixed. You know, literally, if it touches technology, we handle it at Schrock Innovations. The original location, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road in Lincoln. In Omaha, 168th and Burke Street. That's across the street from the Village Point Mall, where the rent is slightly cheaper. Then we've got the Papillion location, 84th and Highway 370 in the Midlands Place Shopping Center, and the newest Schrock location in West Des Moines, Iowa at 9500 University Avenue. All of the locations, guys, I believe we still have at least one ultimate upgrade left in each location. This is the thing with, normally with, supply chain kind of stuff, the week before a sale ends, we start going hand to mouth on the stuff. So basically, if you order one, we order the parts and we build it, and then we don't have any left over at the end of the sale. Well, in the modern world that we live in today, with inflation and supply chains and China and everything else, if you can buy it, you buy it. And then you deal with getting rid of it, right? So we did pretty good. I mean, to only have 4 units roughly left of a computer after a computer sale where you've sold over 100 units, that's pretty on the button. You can't really do much better than that. So the long story short here is I went ahead and asked Alfonso at Schrock Interactive to leave the Ultimate Upgrade laptop and desktop up on the website for the rest of the day today. The sale technically ended at the end of the month. So it's, today is the 1st of the month. Unless you're listening to this in Lincoln, then today is the 7th of the month. But this was recorded on the 1st of the month. So on the 1st of the month, the sale was technically over. So one day left. If it was something you meant to do, but you couldn't do it, I had one customer who emailed me, who doesn't have internet at home, so he emails from the library. I don't work on Fridays. And the reason, it's not like a banker's hours thing where it's like, oh, must be nice not have to work on Friday. Do you, quote unquote, work from home? Virtual Zoom thing? No, actually, I would work 7 days a week if my wife let me. And, very early on in our marriage, it became apparent that if Thor didn't spend some time with his wife, she probably wouldn't stick around very long, Like people kind of want to be married and stuff. So Friday is the day that my wife and I go out. And, this gentleman emailed. He doesn't have internet. So he went to the library twice to email me. And he wanted me to give him a call back Friday. So I bounced him an email back. I didn't want him sitting, going back and forth to the library, waiting for my response email back to him. So I shot him a quick email back saying, hey, I'll take care of you on Monday. Not a big deal. I'm sure I'll have one left. So if it's something that you wanted to do, if it was a computer that you meant to get in on, especially you meant to do where you were going to trade it in some old computer toward a new one, you've got till 5 o'clock today to do it. Except for that one customer that emailed me, who I told him I would take care of him on Monday. I'm holding a unit back for him because I'm going to take care of him on Monday so that he doesn't have to sweat it over the weekend. All right, so this is a live call-in show, guys. So number you can call to join us on the program, 888-250-2091. That's 888-250-2091. Give us a call, ask a question, make a comment, just be a part of the program in some way. Maybe you were in the service center, you had a good experience. Maybe you had a bad experience. I hope not, but if you did have a bad experience, I definitely want to hear about it so that we can correct it. We can make things better. And if you had a great experience, my wife and I, we went out to a seafood restaurant in downtown. We didn't realize, what weekend it was. So we went downtown in the middle of Berkshire Hathaway. Luckily, we had a 4:30 resi though, so it wasn't too bad. But we went down and we had seafood. I think it was Plank is the name of the place, and it was good. It's a casual seafood place, nothing super fancy or anything. But we literally had a waitress who was she was the best waitress I think I've ever had in my life. Like this woman belongs in an upscale restaurant. my drink did not go unfilled. You know, she had that perfect balance of like not walking over to you right when you stick the first bite into your mouth and saying, "How does everything taste?" And you're like, "Oh, this is really good." You know, and you know, basically never coming back after she drops the food off. She had that perfect balance right between the two. Pleasant, personable. She knew the menu. She knew her product. She knew the ins and the outs. She knew what had mushrooms in it and what didn't. You know, my wife is concerned about that. She was on point. And so when we were done with our meal, we took a moment to go to the back of the restaurant and find the manager and be like, "Hey, listen, she's amazing. Like, you know, she did a great job." You know, no one ever takes the time to tell you those things. Very few people do. And so they always say, if somebody tells you something that went wrong, you know, there's usually, you know, 5 or 10 times the number of things that actually went wrong, you know, compared to what you saw, you know, or what you heard about. The same thing goes to when things go right, but I think it's even worse. If you have one person who comes to you and says something went right, there's probably 100 people that it went right for that just didn't say anything, because it's not human nature to compliment. It's human nature to complain, right? So, so if you had an experience, good or bad, I definitely want to hear about it in the service center. Now, last week on the program, we updated you on Elon's plans to purchase Twitter, which of course, you know, there's a little bit of a fly in the ointment in that he's using his Tesla shares to as collateral for the loan. And of course, there was a big tech sell-off, Thursday, Friday, and the price of Tesla shares went down. And so the question then becomes, is the value of the Tesla shares enough to collateralize the loan to buy Twitter? And so that's kind of interesting. But then Twitter came out and said, whoopsie daisy. It's like all the dirty laundry is getting so fresh and so clean before Elon comes in the door. We may have accidentally misstated the number of active Twitter users we have since 2019. Yeah, it was more. We were like 1.4 million over. What? Well, here's what happened. It was really an honest mistake, you see. We created this feature where if you were Joe, you had a Twitter account. And then maybe Joe had 15 businesses. And Joe had a Twitter account for each business. And it was really inconvenient for Joe to have to log out and log in and log out and log in. And we all saw the politician who tweeted on the wrong account, you know what I mean? So it happens. So we created this new unification account where you could bring all the accounts together into one place, except we counted the unification accounts as separate users. So we had Joe and his 15 companies, that's 16, plus unification guy, that's 17. And whoops, sorry about that. So some people are saying, well, maybe having, you know, that many fewer users than you actually said you had, even though we all know there's tons of bots operating on Twitter that are actual bots. Maybe the $54.20 price per share is too high. Maybe Elon should lower his price a little bit, given the and he probably won't. You know, the deal's going through. You don't want to blow that up over something like that. But that would be a nice response if the collateralizing of the Twitter share or the Tesla shares throws an issue. He can say, well, I want a lower price for Twitter then. And just, you know, things continue to drop through the floor in the tech industry. Amazon lost like an unimaginable amount of money in the first quarter. Just crazy stuff. So wild times we're living in, guys. But we did update you on that last week. Also, why you should not hack incompatible Windows 11 computers to run Windows 11. I know the vast majority of you listening right now are like, huh? You're not doing it. But the thing that worries me is there are the majority of computer repair shops. Schrock does not sell any used equipment at all. We don't do used computers. They're a nightmare. Somebody else has used all the useful life out of these parts, and now we're going to take the ones that survived that period, compile them together into one super reliable computer, and sell it to you. But then, because we know it's going to fail, we're only going to give you a 90-day warranty. And then, of course, on the 91st day, you're going to come back in and you're going to say, I expect better from Schrock. This isn't the service that I've come to expect from your company. And we'd say, well, sir, you bought a used computer. We warned you when you bought the computer that we only warranty it for 90 days for a reason. And you said, oh, I'm sure it's fine. And you bought it anyway. Well, I paid good money for this computer. Actually, you paid bad money for the computer, but, we told you that. But see, it just doesn't work. You're just going to end up ticking people off, which is why we don't do it. But the vast majority of computer repair service centers sell way more used equipment than they sell new equipment. The margins are higher. It's easier to get the used equipment. You can buy it by the pallet load. and you can sell it for double or triple what you pay for it, as opposed to like, an ultimate upgrade where we're scraping 25 or 30 bucks off the top of a computer sale. If you're selling used equipment, you're making 100, 200 bucks a computer. It's way more profitable. So we don't mess around with that. But the challenge you have with Windows 11 was it was so restrictive on the hardware that you needed to have in your computer that it killed off pretty much everything that was more than 3 years old. So now all of a sudden, all those pallets of old computers that, every other computer repair shop in town purchases and resells, they're worth a little bit less because you can't run Windows 11 on them. So you can sell them with Windows 10 and you can tell people, well, Windows 10 is good till 2025. You'll be fine. That's a used computer. It ain't going to last that long anyway. Or you can just force load Windows 11 on them, even though they're not compatible. There are overrides that you can put in place. We did it to a tech computer in our service center. It's running fine so far. It doesn't have any problems. But last week we brought you the story that Microsoft may not provide you with security updates if you're running Windows 11 on a non-compatible computer. And that's something that I'm worried that a lot of people who maybe have purchased used computers from used computer stores running Windows 11 that shouldn't be running Windows 11, but how would you know it's not supposed to run Windows 11? And that can become an issue. So just one of those things to keep in the back of your mind. If you are buying a used computer, be really cautious that the hardware you're getting is Windows 11 compatible. The majority of them are actually not compatible. We also brought you the story last week about an Android flaw that went unpatched for years, an Apple audio codec that Apple open sourced and then forgot about. And Android scooped it up like, Apple's leftovers. We like it. And then put it in every Android phone for years. Well, that audio codec allowed a bad guy to send a specific audio file to your phone and take complete control of your phone. Yay! It's patched now. But for years, it was unpatched. Once again, the drumbeat goes on. Have you decided to put antivirus on your phone yet? Because it's a little computer in your pocket now. It's nothing more or nothing less. Have you put Linux or Windows? Have you put Windows on your Linux yet? No, you haven't. Have you put antivirus on your Linux computer yet? You need to. Do you have antivirus on your Mac? Oh yeah, they need it. They need it bad. There's the viruses that attack Macs are insidious. So it's just one of those things. Again, the weekly reminder, guys. I remember back when we had to convince people they needed antivirus on their computers, like their PCs, back when I started this program, because everyone's like, we get the crackpot call guy. Yeah, I think it's the antivirus companies that make the viruses, and they're just doing this to sell their product. It's a scam, man. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for your call. Have a great day. It's not a scam. They're not making the viruses. Bad guys are making the viruses and taking advantage of these vulnerabilities, and you need to keep your devices safe. All right, so if you missed any of the last week's show, that was a lot of show last week. It's all available on our website at schrockinnovations.com. You can watch the video of the program. You can also listen to the audio, also available on Apple Podcasts if that's your thing. Coming up on the program today, as I mentioned, the final day of the Ultimate Upgrade is today, until 5 o'clock. And after that, it will disappear from the website. So if you want one, today's your day. Ransomware has a new target in Nebraska and Iowa. These are specific industries to Nebraska and Iowa that are vital to us and vital to the nation that are being attacked by ransomware. If you're in the agricultural business, in any stage of that business, you don't want to miss this part of the program today. Also, is there finally going to be a free, good VPN available? How many times, Roger, have we gotten that call? Hey, Thor, I need a VPN. I don't want to spend any money on it, but I want it to be fast, and I want it to be reliable, and I want it to be, good, like trustworthy. What would you recommend? I'm like, paying money to somebody that has fast, reliable VPNs? We've recommended ExpressVPN, right? Well, there's a new one coming out that promises to be free, is backed by one of the largest tech companies in the industry, and it might just get you to switch your default browser too. So we're going to tell you about that one coming up on the program. Also, this is kind of morbid, but kind of interesting because no one really thinks about it. You think about estate planning, right? You think about like when you die, what happens to your stuff? I'm getting to that age where, parents are starting to pass, and, you're starting to I've had friends of mine that have passed and things like that. You start to get to that age where, people start dying sometimes. And you see kind of the people who plan and the people who don't, and all the outcomes from that. One of the things that nobody's thinking about right now, what happens to your digital accounts when you die? All that stuff you have uploaded to Facebook, all those pictures, your Google accounts, your Gmail. What happens when you go to log into that and you need the two-factor code, but the person is dead and they don't have their cell phone anymore? What happens to your crypto accounts? This is a big problem. So it's one of those things I wanted to bring it up during the show and talk about it a little bit because it's kind of morbid, but on the other hand, it's something that's really important that can be really, really easily fixed. I'm going to tell you how I fixed it for my family. Heaven forbid something happens to me. But yeah, I sent my wife an email, and the subject of the email, it said, "In the event of my unfortunate demise." And, I was down in the basement, and I just had the urge to do this, to like put together like a document of like, this is how to access stuff. And she came down the stairs and she's like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, why?" She's like, she slapped me. "What the hell is with that email?" What, do you think I was down here like, about to hurt myself or something? Like, no, I'm sitting here and thinking about this stuff and thinking, you'd have no way to access any of this crypto stuff if I'd passed away or if I had a stroke and couldn't remember things. She would have no way to access any of it. I wouldn't have any way to access any of it if I didn't remember things. So it's good to put that down someplace safe, print it out and lock it up in a safe somewhere. But she came down and slapped me one. 888-250-2091. We're going to take our first break of the program here. When we come back, though, Kathy, your call will be coming up next on Compute This.
Drive Advisor is a free program from Schrock Innovations that monitors your hard drive's health and tells you if it's going bad. Download it for free at driveadvisor.com. In 1798, Eli Whitney's Connecticut musket factory was the first business in North America to use replaceable parts in a firearm. Before Eli's factory, if your musket broke, you had to send it away to an expert gunsmith for repairs, or just toss it and buy a new musket. Technology manufacturing has come a long way since the 18th century, but you wouldn't know it by looking at today's big box store computers. Dell, HP, Sony, and other manufacturers continue to take away your freedom to upgrade and repair your computer by eliminating expansion and repair options. Some desktops are even powered by a tiny laptop adapter. Schrock Innovations believes in Eli Whitney's idea of interchangeable and replaceable components, and that's why our custom-built modular computers last longer and cost less to repair than computers you see at big box stores. Ask your friends and family how often they replace their box store computers, and they'll probably tell you every couple of years. And what do they do with the old machines? They just get thrown out like broken muskets. Imagine a place where your computer's problems can be fixed quickly and inexpensively. Imagine keeping your computer for 6 years or more. You are imagining the kind of computers we build every day at Schrock Innovations. Our modular systems last longer, perform faster, and cost less over the long term than anything you can buy at a big box store. While the talented technicians at Schrock Innovations can't make you a musket even if they tried, our commitment to the freedom offered by modular computers is the modern-day extension of Eli's innovative musket factory. We think Eli Whitney would be proud, and you can take pride in owning a small piece of American innovation, the modular computer from Schrock Innovations. Compute This Pro Tip 843. Of all computer failures, the scariest and most expensive is the hard drive. But there are some steps you can take to save money and save your data before it's too late. Detecting failures early is important, so install a free utility like Drive Advisor from driveadvisor.com to monitor your hard drive's health and receive warnings when there's a problem. But most of all, hard drive failures happen slowly, so early detection is key to reducing the repair bill. Second, if your hard drive makes any unusual noises, immediately turn off your computer and do not turn it on again. These issues are physical problems, and the more you try to use it, the worse the damage becomes. Remember that most computer repair shops do not have the specialized equipment needed to recover data from a failed drive. Never open your drive or allow anyone else to do so. Opened drives always cost more to recover. Schrock does not charge for data recovery evaluations and quotes, so let the local pros look at your drive before you make any recovery decisions. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back into Compute This. My name's Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. I want to remind everybody that after the program is concluded on Facebook at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations, that's where we're streaming live right now, we do a little show called The After Schrock, where we talk about things that are maybe loosely related to computers, maybe not entirely related. I will be the first to admit I have absolutely nothing planned for the Aftershock. I've got a good excuse. I was in Lincoln last night with my littles at Monster Jam. Yep. So we're going to go see Wicked in 4 days, but I have to balance it culturally with Monster Jam. So for those of you who don't know, Monster Jam is a monster truck thing. Never been to a monster truck rally in my life. Like, I've been to a sprint car race once, so I was prepared. I had the earplugs. I was like, oh, this is going to be loud. My special needs kiddo, my 9-year-old, she picked out a car at the start the purple car. She cheered like it was her husband driving the vehicle. I mean, it was like she was the football mom at the game. I mean, screaming, yelling, jumping up and down and dancing. My son, my 4-year-old son, who's completely into Hot Wheels, grumped out for the first half and decided he was going to be a butt. And then the second half, he kind of got into it a little bit. But I'm just like, this is so cool. Look at these trucks flying up in the air and stuff. And it's just amazing how these trucks will launch themselves up in the air, huge, heavy vehicles, and then they'll land on these giant tires. And it's so graceful. Like, it's like, how did you do that? And then, of course, the arena, the Pinnacle Bank Arena, is pretty small, right? So they're doing donuts in a space twice the size of their vehicle, and they're keeping it under control. They're not slamming into anything. I mean, these drivers are just amazing in what they do. And you start to look at the trucks, and you're like, the rear wheels turn, the front wheels turn. The motors are independently on the front and the back. You can goose either one. I'm trying to imagine what the interior of that looks like. How many pedals and levers, and I'm just, oh my gosh, just amazing stuff there. So if I'm a little punchy, it's because I didn't get a ton of sleep because we drove back from Monster Jam afterward. And of course there was construction all over I-80 all the way back. So it took like, an hour and a half to get home from Lincoln, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, so I have nothing planned for the aftershock. So I figure I'll talk about me filling in for Scott Voorhees on KFAB tomorrow morning. I'll talk about that. That's a gimme. We'll talk about the Ultimate Upgrade Sale ending. That's a gimme. We can talk about the new special offer that we're going to have this month at Schrock. I'm telling you guys, get antivirus, get antivirus, get antivirus. Go, go, go. Make it done. Get it done. Make it happen. Well, this month we're going to put it on special to help you make it happen. Now, we debated about doing this internally because our costs are going up on this as well. In fact, what was it? Yesterday, I went to go order replacement printers. We've been selling a lot of printers lately. Everybody else is out of printers, basically, so we were the only ones that have any. And went to order replenishments, and yep, costs went up 6% on our cost side. 6% on printers in a month. Like, oh, well, I guess that's a bummer. So maybe it'll come back down. Maybe it's a supply thing. Maybe not. We don't know. We usually wait a little bit before we respond to it. But the cost of everything is going up, including our cost that we pay for Sophos is up about 20% year over year. So, we don't want to raise the price. We don't want to change that. But the question is, do you run a special where you discount it then? And our thought process on this is that we do because we want to make sure you get protected on your computer, and then we can keep you as a customer year after year after year. And that's a win for us, and that's hopefully a win for you as well. Number to join us on the program today, 888-250-2091. Kathy, welcome to the program. How can I help you on Compute This today?
Well, I was wondering, I don't have a computer that's going to take Windows 11, which is fine. I've got a few years to save up for the next computer. But my question is, I have a lot of things. I've got 3 drives on my current computer, and I store and do everything on my computer. Am I going to be able to move over some of those programs when I finally do get a Windows 11 so that I can continue to do things like my banking, the spreadsheets? I prefer LibreOffice to the Microsoft version.
Okay, yeah.
Is that going to be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you buy the new computer from Schrock, we pre-install LibreOffice for you. So you'll have that on the computer. We have a service called a data transfer that we can use to move all of your files and folders and things from the old computer into the new computer. If you have backup drives in your old computer, a lot of people don't realize this, but sometimes it does not make sense to move parts from your old computer to your new computer. Sometimes it does. So like if you have some big backup drives in there and you want us to move them into the new computer, it's a lot cheaper to have us move 2 drives out of your old computer than it is to buy 2 new drives. And if they're working perfectly fine, obviously they wouldn't be covered by the warranty, but if they're working fine and they're just backup drives, you may as well move them over and use them. So absolutely, when the time comes, Kathy, and you're ready, we're happy to help you out and make sure that the objective we have is when you take your new computer home, it looks and acts and works as much like the old computer as possible. And of course, when you buy a new computer from Schrock, you also get 90 days of the Schrock Desk for free, which is our online remote help service. So when you get home, when you're trying to hook up that printer and you're like, oh, shoot, because we can't install the printer because we don't have the printer there. When you get home, it installs itself. We try to set it up so it happens really seamlessly for you. But when you get home, if you have trouble with that, you give us a call. We get connected remotely and we set up your printer for you. So there's some service after the sale as well. It's not just, hey, buy the computer and have a great live call us when you need something else. We want to make sure that you're actually able to use the product and that you feel good about your purchase, that you feel like you're getting a great value for the money that you spent on that computer.
Oh, good. That's a great thing to find out. I was going to say, I wish I'd known about Monster Jam. I've got 4 great grandsons who would have loved it.
There were seats available. I think it's going on again tonight, I think. Although
I'll have to see.
El Loco, whatever, crashed his car pretty hard. He started off the race with half of the body on his car gone. So he really is loco. I mean, he's crazy. But the stunts he was doing, I mean, just fabulous. Like I said, being able to jump a monster truck 25 feet in the air and land on your front wheels and then walk the car along on its front wheels back and forth.
Oh, that is.
I mean, I'm just like, on the way home, my son asked me to do that with my truck, and I told him no. No thanks.
I can imagine the one grandson asking his dad to do that in his truck, and he'd get the same response. No way.
All right, Kathy, thanks for your call. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. All right. So one of the things that we mentioned going into the show here today is I wanted to talk to you about some ransomware attack that is really hitting Nebraska and Iowa industry specifically. If you are involved in the agriculture industry, and I don't just mean if you're plowing a field. Literally, a lot of people think, it's like, well, the farmers, they make the food. Well, there's co-ops that store the food, and there's places where the food is bought and sold, like exchanges, commodities. There's all these other aspects to our food supply chain aside from just pulling crops out of the ground, which is challenging enough. And now they're going to come under attack, especially during planting season and harvest season this year, according to the FBI. So we're going to take a quick break here, guys. When we come back, we're going to tell you what you need to do to prepare if you are part of the agricultural food chain in any way, coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations Data Recovery Lab saves the data the other guys can't. The next time your hard drive, camera card, or flash drive fails, let Schrock get your data back. Every person listening to this broadcast has either experienced data loss or knows someone who has. When you think about it, you have a lot more data stored in many more places than you'd like to admit. Have you downloaded those videos from your phone, backed up the pictures on your iPad, or even tackled that sometimes daunting task of backing up your entire computer's hard drive? Most people just don't back up their stuff, and that's why Schrock Innovations has one of the most advanced data recovery centers in the Midwest. Equipped with the latest DDI data imaging devices, state-of-the-art custom recovery software, and Omaha's best data recovery technicians, Schrock Innovations has a 96.8% success rate when recovering data from damaged hard drives, flash drives, camera cards, and more. We all know we should back up our data, but if you are ever caught in a data loss nightmare, call the experts at Schrock Innovations to get your data back right where it belongs, safe and backed up on a stable hard drive. Compute This Pro Tip 578. Technology is constantly changing, so how can you tell when the time has come to recycle your old outdated computer and invest in a new one? Experts have rules of thumb and formulas, but Schrock believes the answer is simple. You should replace your old computer when it can no longer do the things you need in a secure way. For example, you should not be using operating systems like Windows XP or Vista because they're no longer maintained by Microsoft and they're not secure. And if your computer cannot run Windows 10, it's probably time to begin saving for a replacement. If your existing computer requires a repair and that cost is 50% or more of the cost of a new computer, it might be time to consider a replacement. But keep in mind, additional costs like data transfers and important software you have to upgrade like genealogy software or Quicken. And also keep in mind that modern computers are engineered to last 18 months for a normal user. And don't worry, you are considered a normal user. Schrock modular PCs and solid-state laptops are specifically designed to last 4 to 6 years for that same normal user, saving your family money and time. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Reports from Ukraine indicate about 40 women and children left the steel plant in Mariupol. Their bus was escorted by Russian forces marked with UN symbols. As many as 100,000 people are thought to be living in the steel plant. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and a congressional delegation meeting with President Zelensky in Kyiv before heading to Poland.
We are visiting you to say thank you for your fight for freedom.
Video posted by Zelensky on Twitter. 3 deaths now reported related to the tornado in Andover, Kansas. Fox's Jackie Ibanez.
Fire officials say residential buildings suffered most of the damage. The twister injured several people. There were no deaths from the twister itself, but 3 University of Oklahoma meteorology students who had been tracking the storm died in a car crash.
The tornado striking 31 years to the week after an F5 tornado devastated Kansas. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, the News Radio 1110 KFAB Weather Watch.
Cloudy skies this morning with breezy conditions. Temperatures in the 40s. Northwest winds gusting up to 30 miles an hour today. Some afternoon sunshine. High temperatures around 61 degrees. Cloudy overnight, a low of 40. Rain likely Monday with a high of 49. With Omaha's most accurate forecast, I'm 6 News First Alert meteorologist David Keller.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back into Compute This, where we bring you the latest, most important news of the day. And we took the opportunity to look it up. Monster Jam is happening today at the Pinnacle Bank Arena in Lincoln, Nebraska at 1 o'clock. It's a matinee. So you do have time to get your tickets and make your plans if you were going to go to Monster Jam. Mom Hack, the lovely Kimberly, she investigates everything before she does it. So she says, what are the mom hacks for Monster Jam? One of the top ones, don't sit in the first 20 rows. She's like, I have no idea why, but we sat in row like 25, and sure enough, if you were in the first 20 rows, you got smacked in the face with so many dirt clots. Like, the tires would just kick up the dirt, and it would just, like, fly into people's faces. And, of course, you know, those kids down there were, like, catching it out of the air and stuff. I'm just imagining, you know, my special needs kiddo cheering like a crazy woman for Purple Car, and, you know, getting smacked in the face with a dirt clot all of a sudden, and Katie down, you know. I'm just like, yeah, that would happen. That would happen to me. That's it's like, thanks for doing the research, Mom. We appreciate it. 888-250-2091 is the number to be a part of the program today. And of course, as we mentioned every week, if you call in, ask a question, make a comment, be a part of the program, we'll put you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Also, lots of action happening on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. We're broadcasting live with video there right now, and a lot of questions and comments going out. Are you and the kids going out to leave May baskets today, or is that a thing anymore? We are not going out and doing May baskets. However, and this I should save this for. I'll touch on this and then we'll cover it during the aftershock. My son is working toward his Eagle project, and he went into. You know, he put it all together. He did a lot of the work. Of course, Mom helped a little bit because he's 15, right? I mean, it's like you're giving your first big presentation that actually has consequences, and you think Mom's just going to be like, good luck, kid. Bump, you know, kick him off onto the curb. So, you know, Mom's giving him advice, telling him what to do, showing him how to use online tools like Canva to make presentation posters and things like that. But he's doing the work. And he chose the charity he wanted to work with, and he chose the Release Foster Closet. So basically, the concept here is, you know, kids that go into foster care, it's usually not a planned migration. You know, it usually happens suddenly, like in the middle of the night suddenly, and the kids don't get to take anything with them. Some of these kids have never had a pair of pajamas before in their life, never. And so what Jacob decided he wanted to do was he wanted to do number one, he wanted to do a pajama drive, and he wanted to get 200 pairs of pajamas, which is enough to supply the Release Foster Closet for an entire year for every kid that goes into foster care to have a pair of pajamas. Number two, he wanted to do blankets, because whether you're a big kid or a little kid, having the comfort of a blanket with you is something that it's amazing when you're going through an insecure time. And so, what kind of blankets can a kid make? Well, tie blankets, right? What better thing for a scout to make than a blanket full of knots, right? So, the tie blankets where you take the two pieces of fleece and you put them on top of each other, and then you cut strips all along, like at the bottom of those posters where it's like, buy a puppy, and you tear the little number off the bottom of the poster and you call the number, kind of like that around all the edges, and then you tie the strips together to join the two blankets together, the two pieces of fleece together. And so he wanted to make 50 blankets as well. And so he goes in and presents this at the Scouter Services to the council, and let's just say I was a little. I got to be real careful here, but anyway, I'll tell you more during the aftershock. Let's put it that way. So that's all of our charitable efforts and focuses are right now on making sure that his project gets launched appropriately. That the Facebook page is available for people who want to maybe donate a pair of pajamas. We want to get donation boxes in churches. So if you're a member of a church and you want to, I would encourage you to reach out to Jacob, but he's 15, so you got to be a responsible parent and say, hey, adults everywhere, reach out to my 15-year-old kid. Reach out to me and I can put you in touch with Jacob to coordinate maybe putting a collection box in your church so that your church congregation can donate pajamas or materials for blankets or things like that. It's a really good cause. It's a really good project, and it's his project. I gave him an easy out. I told him, hey, you could do a recycling drive. We can do an e-waste recycling drive, kid. I've got we got literally, I can give you a book on how to do it. And you can here's your Eagle project and a book. Go. And he chose to do a project instead that was meaningful to him, that was going to be more work, but was going to be a bigger reward for him. I don't really care if Scouter Services approves it or not. It's a good project, whether he gets an Eagle for it or not. This is one of those times as a parent where you're looking at what your kid's doing and you're like, damn, you're a good kid. Thank you, lovely Kimberly, for raising an amazing son. 888-250-2091. All right, so Nebraska and Iowa, obviously huge agricultural bases. One of the things that we're being warned about right now are from the FBI. Ransomware gangs are attacking this lucrative but unexpected target. Timing is everything, and cybercriminals know how to exploit demand for ransom payments from victims. Businesses in farming and agriculture have been warned that they should be prepared to face an increase in ransomware attacks at critical times like spring planting or harvest. An alert by the FBI suggests that ransomware gangs see farming and agriculture as lucrative targets where victims could be more willing to pay a ransom for a decryption key because of the time sensitivity of the industry. Okay, so this isn't, we're going to hack your tractor. This isn't, this is, you're not going to be able to sell your harvested grain because the co-op is down and will be down for the next couple weeks at a time. Could you imagine what a delay like that would do during harvest, for example? So this is the kind of thing that they're worried about. Now, how do ransomware attacks happen? The number one way that ransomware attacks happen: human error. Human beings doing things on work computers that you shouldn't be doing on a work computer. I will leave it at that. That's the number one way you get a ransomware infection. Stay off the internet on your work computers. There's no need to Google things on the work computers. There's no need to look for images of the latest Will Smith slap. You don't need to be doing that on your work computers. Number two, make sure your work computers are up to date. We especially see this in the ag industry. There's in agriculture as a whole, there's just an inherent, I'm trying to think, the word is escaping me, frugality, where you don't throw away something that's useful and you use something until it's not useful anymore. So my gosh, if that Windows 95 computer can still run the scale then what's wrong with that computer, right? I'm telling you, you got to stop doing that. If you have anything that's Windows Vista, Windows XP, or Windows 7, anything like that, you've got to get rid of it. You have to get rid of it. You could if you can't get rid of it, at least air gap it. What an air gap is where it's not connected to the rest of your network, which is incredibly inconvenient. It's also not connected at all to the internet. You can't have it connected to the internet. Number 3, you're not running any antivirus, or the antivirus you're running is garbage. You're running something like a McAfee or an Avast or something that is a consumer-grade antivirus running in a business-grade environment. Well, I pay for Avast Pro. Well, show me how Avast Pro is any different than Avast Free. Yeah, it's got a couple extra features in there, but the core security is the same. I've got Norton 360. I can protect my entire business with one license because it protects 5,000 computers. You get what you pay for. 5,000 computers for the price of one. And what happens if you get attacked? Who do you call if something gets through? You end up calling us, honestly. And then we come in there and we're like, okay, it's going to, you have a choice with ransomware. We'll come in and we'll tell you have a choice. You can pay the ransom and have a 50% chance of getting your data back because they may not give you the key. They're criminals. They may just take your money and run. Or they may give you a key and it may not work because they don't spend a lot of time testing the decryption algorithm, just the encryption stuff. Or we had this situation with a dental office who did pay the ransom. They got the decryption key. We decrypted all the files, but because of the encryption, when they were encrypted, the files went missing. It caused all the internal programs to break. And so when the files were restored, the programs didn't just start working again. And so a lot of the internal things in the programs that were broken had to be rebuilt from scratch, which meant a lot of treatment plan. We had all the data. We had all the x-rays. We had all the data was there, but the treatment plans in the software were all missing, which is kind of important for a dentist to have a treatment plan. And that was one of the inherent, you never come out of these things unscathed, even if you pay the ransom. So I am going to implore you now, especially if you're in the agricultural industry, please make sure that you're running Sophos Anti-Virus on your critical work computers. If you have a computer hooked up to the internet in your business, that is a critical work computer. If you have computers that are hooked up to the internet that are not critical work computers, you need to unhook them from the internet. There is no reason to have those endpoints hanging out there to act as a foothold for a virus to get in. Because once one of these ransomware viruses gets on one computer in the network, it will incessantly attempt to spread across the network. Sometimes they allow remote access. So guys will literally remote into the computer and disable the antivirus so the automated virus can run. That's how serious this stuff is. So that's why Sophos is so recommended. It's got an artificial intelligence basis to it so that when it sees something that quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. It's probably a virus. It's probably malware. If you're opening and closing thousands of files a second on your computer, that's probably not you. That's probably malware. We're going to stop that. And it does. We haven't had a single customer come back to us with any kind of a real infection since we started using Sophos. We've had people think they're infected, but it always turns out to be something minor that wasn't anything that would qualify as an infection. It was a pop-up or something like that. So what we're going to do at Schrock this month to help you get over the hump to make the decision to secure your digital landscape, especially if you're in the agricultural industry, we're going to discount. Normally it's $160 to get a computer set up on Sophos. After that, it's $70 a year to renew the service. So annually, it's not too bad. The first time is a little bit of a punch, and part of that is because we have to set you up in the system. Part of that is Sophos charges us more to set up new subscribers than to maintain existing ones because there's more work involved in that. So we're going to discount that down to $99 for you. So it's literally, instead of $160, it's $99 to get Sophos installed on your computer. That's a per computer charge. But the beautiful thing about this is we actually monitor your computer. Schrock Innovations monitors your computer. So when it does get attacked, and they do get attacked every day, computers that we monitor get attacked every day. First off, the AI deals with a ton of it. And if the AI doesn't know what to do, it doesn't ask you. It asks us. And then we train the AI what to do. And then in the future, when it encounters that for any of our other customers, it knows what to do. So yeah, every day there's one or two new things, one or two new lessons to teach the AI. And then after that, our product is that much better. And that's one of the reasons why our customers don't get hit, is because we've got this active intelligence protecting all of you with talented humans that can step in when something too novel comes along that the computer doesn't know how to handle, and we can step in and help it handle that. You just don't get that from Norton 360. You just don't get that from McAfee or Avast. You won't get that from definition-based antivirus, period. That's the difference. That's why Sophos is so successful. Please, especially if you're in a critical industry like food production, especially in a time right now where everything agricultural is nuts, from fertilizer, it is nuts. Everything is crazy from fertilizer on down again. Planting season's screwed up in North Dakota right now. Just craziness everywhere. Please take a moment to secure what you can secure, to stabilize what you know you can stabilize, because there's enough stuff out there in agriculture that you can't control. Control the stuff you can control. 888-250-2091. Mike, welcome to the program. How can I help you on Compute This today?
Yeah. Morning, Thor.
Morning.
I all of a sudden have gotten a problem of my email becoming undeliverable. It's rejected by the recipient's email provider. It doesn't matter if the domain is Hotmail, Cox, or Gmail.
Okay.
And it says the remote servers, the message is remote server returned, and then it lists an error message, and it's blocked because it contains content identified as spam.
Okay.
And then provides the number.
Gotcha. And who's your email provider?
Hotmail.
Okay. So basically what ends up happening sometimes is emails can get stuck on what's called a spam list. And there's tons of websites you can Google, check spam list or something like that online. And you can put in your email address and hit check. And if your email address has been reported as spam too many times by too many people, then you'll be on the spam list. And then that list gets sent out to every basically internet provider who updates their firewalls. And then any email that comes from your address gets bounced back. So we've had this happen a couple times. In fact, this is one of the reasons we switched to Amazon Webmail for our Schrock Interactive customers, is because Amazon is big enough that if something like this happens, that we can open a ticket at Amazon and then Amazon deals with it, and people listen to Amazon because they're big. But individually, it is extremely difficult to get off a spam list once you're on it. Once you're on a known spammer list, you can submit the documents to get off of it. Likely you got on it because somehow your account got compromised and somebody was using it to send spam email. The other possibility is someone is sending spam email but spoofing the reply to address to be your email address. And then if you're getting a lot of weird replies back like, why are you sending me this and stuff like that, that would be what's going on there. So it's a Hotmail address, and you probably had it for a long time because they're not giving those out anymore.
Correct.
So a lot of your friends and family probably have that address. If you can't use it, though, it's not much use to you. So the first step is let's check and see what it's going to take to get you off the spam lists, if you are even on the lists. And then the second step of the process is going to be you should probably, I hate to say it, but you should probably get a new email address and start the migration process. Because you can't email anybody as it is. You can't even tell everyone you're getting a new email address because your emails are going to bounce back to you. But in the meantime, you need an email address that you can use. And so get yourself an email from whatever provider you choose. Your internet provider gives you a free one typically. I usually recommend people don't use those because it prevents you from switching your internet provider in the future because you'll lose your email. Also, keep in mind that any free email you use, whether it's Hotmail or Gmail or Yahoo, the contents of everything that you write are scanned and processed to build a better advertising profile about you. So, in fact, that's one of the things. Did you hear about Google doing the woke editing in documents? They decided to back off on that because it was just too Orwellian, where you're typing like, what time does the mailman come? And then it would pop up live in the document and say, mailman is not an inclusive word. You should call it mail carrier. And it's like, and it was going to happen in real time, like Orwellian real time, speech modification. It was so creepy that the Google said they're going to refine the product. Well, they're not canning it. They're just going to refine it more before it's released. But anyway, so like I said, I encourage you. Proton Mail is a good choice if you're looking for something that's reliable and private. It does cost a little bit, but it's definitely worth it to maintain the privacy and have the reliability of somebody who you're paying to provide email to you. Because, if you get a free one and it goes down, they're like, well, it's free. What do you want?
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the call, Mike. I appreciate it. All right, 888-250-2091. Going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we got a lot to pack in. Finally having a good free VPN. What happens to your accounts when you die? Also, Eric is on the line, so we got a lot to do coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations repair technicians also make house calls. Make an appointment and let us bring our award-winning computer support right to your home or business.
Remember the good old days when virus detection worked like Where's Waldo? Spot the virus in the striped shirt and you win. Today's infections are changing hourly to avoid detection and use social engineering to trick you into making mistakes. Using yesterday's security to defend against today's threats is like using leeches to stop an infection. It just doesn't work. We recommend Sophos Intercept X Antivirus backed by Schrock's virus-free guarantee. Sophos uses the power of AI to detect the patterns of a virus attack and responds with Schrock's custom actions that stop it fast. With Sophos on your PC, Mac, Android, or iOS device, you get the state-of-the-art protection you need to defend against the most advanced attacks out there. In fact, if your device gets a virus while running Sophos Anti-Virus, Schrock will remove it for free, guaranteed. It hasn't happened yet, and we intend to keep it that way. Ditch your dad's antivirus and keep your device, data, and identities safe with Sophos and Schrock Innovations.
Compute This Pro Tip 178. Those little life-saving surge protector strips are vital to your computer's health and should be used whenever possible, even for laptops. As computers get smaller and more powerful, they're also becoming more sensitive to dirty power, and your power is a lot dirtier than you might think. Even if you have a whole home surge protection, most power surges are generated within your own home. If you've ever vacuumed and seen the lights get dimmer and brighter, you created a surge. Surge protectors can only absorb so much energy measured in joules. When that capacity is exhausted, your surge protector becomes a glorified extension cord and needs to be replaced. You should always look for surge protectors that give audible alerts when they're no longer able to protect your equipment. Schrock recommends these because the lights on most strips are just power lights and they don't tell you when it's time to replace the unit. If in doubt, replace your surge protectors annually to keep your expensive TVs, computers, and other electronic equipment safe. This pro tip is brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Alrighty, folks. Lots to do in little time, so let's get right to it. Welcome back into Compute This. All right, so is there finally going to be a good free VPN available? This is something that we get calls on all the time and questions in the shop all the time. What do you recommend for a VPN? What is a VPN? A VPN is a virtual private network. It allows you to have anonymity when you go on the internet. So, for example, when you get on the internet, you're at home right now. If you're watching this on Facebook, you went to facebook.com. Your internet provider, whether that's Cox or whoever, they know that you went to facebook.com. It's record. The government can subpoena that. It's forever there. When you have your phone and you open an app on your phone and it pings your location, that app knows your location now, and they can sell that information to anybody they want. So when you have a VPN on your phone or your computer, what ends up happening is rather than you going straight from your home in Nebraska or Iowa to Facebook.com, your home in Nebraska or Iowa goes to Dallas, Texas first. And then from Dallas, Texas, it goes to Facebook. So Facebook sees a bunch of people from Dallas, Texas coming. Your internet provider sees you sending a lot of details to Dallas, Texas. But neither side has a complete picture of what's going on. And that preserves your privacy. When that app in your phone pings for your location, it says you're in Dallas, Texas, which is really nice for privacy, really annoying when you're trying to order a pizza, but really, really nice for privacy. So sometimes, you can create different, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can do whatever, but they all cost money. I use ExpressVPN. I pay $100 a year for it. What is a good free one, Thor? Everybody asks me that. And most of your free ones are either made by criminals to harvest your data, or they have an advertising model which is going to compromise your privacy. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Until now, it seems that Microsoft is planning on releasing a free VPN inside the Edge browser. So Microsoft looks ready to up the privacy and security of its Edge browser users with a new feature called Edge Secure Network. The coming VPN service will be powered by Cloudflare, as noted in a recently discovered Microsoft support page about the feature. Edge Secure Network is not available yet through the dev channel to testers. There's no indication it will be. The new Secure Network feature requires users to be signed into their Microsoft account and provides 1 gig of free data per month that is tied to users' Microsoft accounts. So there's a limit on how much you can use it. But if you're a basic home user, this is going to be an amazing way for you to protect your privacy simply by using the Edge browser. Now, this is not available yet. Somebody found a support page on the Microsoft site talking about this upcoming feature. So Microsoft is rolling out the documentation for it, but it has not been rolled out even in the testing channel yet. So it's probably a good 6 months off here, but this is going to be another reason for you to maybe take a look at the Edge browser when the time comes. Now, lastly, what happens to your online accounts when you die? There are protocols in place to deal with this. So when you pass on, trying to say this like nicely, when you pass on, your next of kin can have a hard time getting access to your documents, files, everything, even if they have a proper death certificate. For most online services, you have to jump through some serious hoops if you can't supply the proper credentials to sign in, according to ZDNet. The acrobatics can reach an extreme degree of difficulty if two-factor authentication is involved. That's where you have a cell phone or an email account set up where it sends you a code, and you have to put the code in. Well, one of the things that happens when people pass away is their cell phones get turned off. Right? People cancel their phone plans because they're not using it anymore. One of the things that somebody suggested here is rather than canceling someone's phone number, you can talk to the phone company and have them forward that number to your phone. And so that way, if somebody sends a text message to the old number, it comes to your phone. If somebody sends a two-factor code to the old number, it comes to your phone rather than the old phone. The other thing is, honestly, I would recommend until you're certain that you have all the digital assets in place, guys, don't screw around with cell phone plans. Because literally, like if my wife would cancel my phone, she would not be able to get access to much of my crypto world. So there's a lot to do there. So, one thing that you can do ahead of time to prepare your family, make sure you've got all this stuff written down and saved in a safe place. I would recommend printing it out, not saving it on your computer. You could write it by hand if you want, but type it, print it out, but don't save the document. You don't want to have all that stuff hackable in one place. Print it out, put it with your safe documents, so that way if something would ever happen to you, everybody knows how to access everything you've got. Alrighty, how much time do we got left, Raj? 40 seconds. Eric, I've got 20 seconds. What can I do for you on Compute This?
Hello, Thor. Just two quick things. One is I really enjoy your service. I just took my computer, one of my computers in for your maintenance upgrade, and it was wonderful. Awesome. The second one is you haven't mentioned it, but I've been getting texts recently that appear to be, what do they call it? The type of stuff where they try to trick you into clicking on something. Yep, absolutely. From all sorts of folks.
I got to run, Eric. Got to run. Thanks for the call there. I'll get to it here in the Aftershock. Mike, you're the winner. Have a great weekend.
From the Amish Furniture of Nebraska studio, your home for made in the USA furniture.